Um, Hello everyone, and welcome to the 716 Sports Blizzard. And today my special guest is Lance from Built in Buffalo.
Yeah, how's it going, dude?
It, it's going good.
About to celebrate a 30th birthday, so we're really getting a little birthday episode in here. How you feeling? Do you feel like you're wiser in your years now, breaking into the 30s?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, like I think I think this year the Bills can maybe get past the Chiefs.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Now is the time for hope. We can be as hopeful as ever, and I share that with you.
Yeah. I mean, the I think I think this year, like, I think the Bills can get past the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are like the toughest opponent for the Bills.
Yeah, they certainly have been over the last 5 or 7 years here. I guess it's been. Um, but yeah, each year presents a new challenge. So there may be other teams that pose a new challenge this year to the Bills as well. Outside of the Chiefs, are there any other teams you think that are going to be really good contenders? How about like the Bengals?
Um, the the Bengals, I I think that would be another team to like kind of watch out for, but I don't think like they're one of the tougher teams for the Bills.
Right on. One of the things that's going to help the Bills beat the Chiefs is they drafted Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, the cornerback. He's very Trey White esque. I thought he was the best fit corner for the Bills to draft if they were going to draft one in round one. So I'm glad that they brought in Maxwell Hairston, and I think he'll probably have an easier time covering a guy like Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs than others may have. So I think that's a good fit for the Bills to have picked Hairston in the first round.
Yeah, and um do you think bringing like a guy like Trey White back to Buffalo was um a good move by Bean and McDermott?
Yeah, I absolutely love that move. It's a good question, buddy. That's that move I thought was really helpful. I didn't know if it would allow the Bills to go a different direction in the first round other than corner, but the way the board fell to them, that was the obvious choice that they had there. And bring in a guy who's look, Hairston's almost carbon copy of Trey White. So to be able to have Hairston learn from Trey and Max already said on interviews that he's very excited to work with Trey White. So I think that those two paired together, um, at least for the offseason, and we'll see what happens when the 53-man roster is decided upon after training camp. But uh, going into training camp and the offseason workouts, I think Hairston having Trey White there in Buffalo, or here in Buffalo, I should say, is going to be a pretty special combination there.
What were your thoughts on the other draft picks that the Bills had, like, and they traded up for a few of them?
Yeah, a lot of guys that had high RAS scores. Not all of them had high RAS scores, but at least in the first few rounds, um, you had Hairston at a 9.63. You had TJ Sanders with a 9.38 and Landon Jackson 9.78. And then Deion Walker obviously did not have a great RAS score, being as big as he is. That's tough. And then Jordan Hancock with a 9.82, the highest RAS score. So a lot of good guys, a lot of good RAS guys there at the top of their draft. Um, rounds, 1 through 5. Jackson Hawes and in round 5 is 7.23, not too shabby. Dorian Strong, 8.34. So very athletic guys. Yeah, we'll see. The trades were weird because the Bills traded with the Bears twice, and both times they went up and took a defensive tackle. So TJ Sanders was a surprise to many. I think people might have thought they were coming up for someone other than that. But I like their philosophy on drafting a lot of defenders here. At least one of them will be good, I would say. Hopefully more than one, but TJ Sanders seems to fit what they want to do, and it's going to help in that defensive line rotation. And then Landon Jackson as well fits what they want to do. I think he's going to uh, benefit from being in Buffalo here, where he can play 110% in his in every snap he plays because he doesn't have to sit here and play um, 50 or 70% of snaps. He can be in the rotation and really be effective. And I think Deion Walker, even though again I mentioned his RAS score wasn't the greatest, but I think this guy comes in at 331 pounds uh, to really help out what they want to do with Dwayne Carter, with Daquan Jones, and all that. So I'm excited for each of those picks. I don't know obviously what made Brandon Beane feel like he had to come up and um, make those trades. Some people thought um, that maybe those guys could have been um, taken at the original picks that the Bills owned, but for whatever reason, Brandon Beane and his staff thought that they needed to go up in the draft and get their guy at those spots. So
Do you think that, like, the running back position with James Cook having a year left on his contract, do you think the Bills will let him uh go at the end of the season?
I do. I mean, I think they could have. I think that his value is such that they weren't going to get enough for him in a trade this offseason, and that they're going to let him play out his contract. And then I just think it's going to be difficult to expect them to re-sign him unless he's willing to take a different deal than what he's explained that he wants um, on social media. So if there's a opportunity at all for the Bills to get him signed, I think they will. I just think he's probably going to ask for more than the Bills are capable of spending on that position, and they may draft someone, or they may have to go the veteran route and try to just get someone else in free agency at the number that they're looking to spend. What do you think about James Cook?
I mean, I liked him. Like, as the guy to like run the ball when they're like on the 20 getting it into the end zone instead of like having Josh Allen do the snowplow.
Yep. Yeah, he skyrocketed in his touchdown numbers this past year. And part of it was getting more opportunity in those situations. But also he's got a special burst. I mean, he's a special runner. He's not a dime a dozen type of guy, in my opinion. I think he is uh, special in some areas. His burst, his speed, the way he can run away from people um, does differentiate him from some other folks. But he does have areas where it leaves a little bit to be desired at the same time. So I think with that total package, the way that the snap share is in the Bills' backfield, it just doesn't lend itself to have a $15 million player at that position.
Um, is Ty Johnson another one of those guys that could probably replace him?
I think the guys they have right now are all well suited to play their roles here in Buffalo. So I don't think that any one of them are going to replace the other. I think they have specific roles that they play, and Ty Johnson's fantastic. Has been a reliable third down back and does a lot of different things very well. But I wouldn't say he's ever going to necessarily replace James Cook. I think they would probably bring someone in to keep Ty Johnson in the role he's currently in, and I would expect someone else to come in to be a part of that three-headed monster approach that the Bills employ.
Um, what about that tight end that the Bills drafted in one of the later rounds?
Jackson Hawes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about the guy. 6'4", 253, runs okay, 4.82, 40-yard dash, but had a big broad jump and a very good vertical, so has explosive legs. I think he's going to be able to block well, which is nice. So that's a plus. It's a good pick. I think that one might be sneaky pick that people may not give as much attention to, but I think it's going to turn out really well for the Bills.
Um, what? Well, I think we have now 3 tight ends.
Yeah, well, the Bills roster, they have a few others as well. They still have Zach Davidson, so um, there's still 4 tight ends on the roster now. So Knox, Kincaid, Davidson, who's been here and was on the practice squad last year, and then they add Hawes, and Reggie Gilliam also has that ability as the utility guy to step in and play a little tight end when they need to. Zach Davidson's more of a pass catcher, though. He's not necessarily an inline blocker, so he's kind of redundant to what Dalton Kincaid mostly is.
Do do you see the Bills maybe um like when the schedule comes out, do you think like we'll get maybe like a Monday night game and a Thursday or in a Sunday game?
Yeah, I expect a lot of the primetime games to feature the Bills. I think there's only 6 primetime games that you can get for each team, and I think the Bills will get the maximum this year. So we don't have to wait too long, though. It's another couple weeks out here, May 14th, I believe it was. So that's pretty exciting. I'm glad they announced that during the draft. So yeah, it'll be 2 weeks from this Wednesday, I believe, that the schedule gets announced. So
Yeah, that'll be exciting when we find out our opponent and um when we would be playing against them.
yeah, it's definitely a stacked schedule. So I'm looking forward to seeing when and where, or I guess when we're going to play them. And is there any one opponent that you're excited to see? Because they have a lot of good ones coming to Buffalo this year. So their opponents coming to Buffalo, the Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets every year,
Kansas
right?
City.
They have Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Philadelphia. So very stacked home schedule.
Um the the one that I'm looking forward to is like Kansas City or Philly. Cause we don't get to see Philadelphia very often.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, Philadelphia just drafted Syracuse quarterback Kyle McCord as well, so it'd be cool to see um, him coming back. Not that he's going to be the starter by any means, but their team is very interesting and obviously dominating in the Super Bowl. So the Bills will have the propensity to beat these teams in the regular season, but we'll see really what matters in the postseason, and that's the goal. Really, the Bills got to stay healthy throughout the regular season, and if they have a full team going into the postseason, it's going to be hard to beat them. We saw it; they took Kansas City to the brink last year with a pretty good, healthy team in the playoffs, and I think they can do that and more this year. You're talking about having a healthy Joey Bosa. If that is uh, possible to have him completely healthy in the playoffs, that's going to be pretty good. Hey, man, Chris, you can't sleep on Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Josh Palmer. I mean, I know they're not big time names. They're not T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but they got the MVP there slinging it. So we'll see. Keon Coleman's going to take a step, I tell you that. And people are going to sleep on the wide receiving core. That's going to be people's off-season talk about how the Bills are at wide receiver. But they proved it last year. They don't need a number one guy. So I think that's incorrect. They didn't lose the game against Kansas City because they didn't have wide receivers. They lost because they can't defend, and they just spent a ton of assets on defense. So we'll see if that pays off.
Yeah, and I think having like a guy like Keon Coleman, I think like make having him make a stop would be good for the team. And he's saying Cincinnati will be a better team in Chargers and Denver.
Yeah, everyone's going to be better. Well, the Bills are going to be better too. Another year in the system for a lot of guys, and adding Josh Palmer is going to be better than people are going to give credit for. And I'm excited. Curtis Samuel, hopefully, again, all depends on how we make it through camp, how healthy these guys get into the season here, and health is the most important. That's going to be the key. How healthy can they stay? The injury bug, that injury luck. That's the key to winning in this league, I think. I mean, obviously you have to have the talented players, but I'm not worried about that when it comes to the Bills roster. It's a very complete roster, and they know how to use each and every guy, and they did so effectively. They scored a lot of points last year, and like I said, MVP quarterback, they'll be fine.
And Chris says Buffalo's secondary was awful last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is getting the push up front to help protect that secondary. That's where it starts. And then you go from there to the coverage itself from those guys and making sure they're in the throwing lanes and making sure they're on their men. And then that's what it's going to come down to this year. They've now invested a lot in that defense, and I think they're going to have a pretty good team. I think they're going to win more than 10 games. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. And he says Patriots will be the Bills' biggest challengers for the AFC East. Which
Patriots will be. Yeah, I think the Patriots finish second in the AFC East to the Bills for sure.
yeah, do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire or go to another team?
I don't follow the Aaron Rodgers saga, so I'm not sure. I know I think Pittsburgh's kind of waiting on him to make a decision, but couldn't be less of a fan of a player than I am of Aaron Rodgers. So whatever he does, he does. I hope Joey Bosa blows him up if he does go to the Steelers and plays. The Bills will be at the Steelers, potentially in an overseas game, so we'll find that out soon too. The Bills potentially play any games out of the country this year.
Or are they still doing that thing where they go like overseas and they play like a early morning game or something?
Yep. Yeah, there's plenty of them. I think Pittsburgh's going to do Ireland, is it? Dublin, Ireland. The Steelers will play in Ireland, so one of the rumors has been that the Bills would be their opponent as they play the game in Ireland. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, there's going to be games um, in England as there has been, and in Germany, and I believe there's going to be something potentially in South America. I'm not sure exactly what the whole international slate entails, but this season. Let's look it up real quick. London, England, Dublin, Ireland, Madrid, Spain, Berlin, Germany, Sao Paulo, Brazil. So, yep, 5 different cities here, and 7 games total will be played outside of the United States.
Chris asked you a question. He says your assessment on the Bills draft picks.
Yeah, we kind of opened up. I think they took guys with very high RAS scores in the first 3 rounds, and obviously Deion Walker not as high there, but just a big human, and that's kind of what Bills fans were clamoring for. I think a lot. I think they did well to stack up on their weakness. People mentioned their weakness is coverage. Well, they drafted 3 cornerbacks. All 3 have very high RAS scores: 8.34 for Dorian Strong, 9.82 for Jordan Hancock, and then 9.63 for Hairston. And then they brought in Trey White to kind of help out in that crew. And I think it's a really cool thing. The trade ups were a little bit strange to me. TJ Sanders wasn't somebody that everyone had on their radar, but I don't hate the pick either. But yeah, there definitely were some guys of like, this is kind of my guy that I wish they would have taken. Probably in the receiver, probably as far as receivers go. That kid Thornton from Tennessee definitely was a guy they traded up for the pick after the Raiders when the Raiders took him. So that was a little disappointing that they kind of missed out on some of the wide receiver names that I was thinking they might take. But kind of the biggest one they missed out on was Sean Dolak from Buffalo and undrafted free agent. So that was maybe more of the shocking miss, not even the draft pick, but the guy in as a UDFA.
Yeah, I got to see him play his last game in UB Stadium.
Nice. That's a nice stadium too.
Yeah. Um, thoughts on bringing back Trey White from Chris?
Man, Chris must have joined us a little bit late. We did say that once, but yes, Trey White coming back with I love it. I've got the 27 Trey White jersey there. I tweeted that out when found out he was coming back, and then he just got the number 27 back from Derek Forrest. So I think that it's great, man. It's good to see him back, and he's been such a big part of what we built here in Buffalo, and now he's able to return and help out some guys. And I think, like I said, Maxwell Hairston is almost a carbon copy of Trey White, so he's going to really help Maxwell along as he gets into Buffalo and gets into the scheme here.
Um, overall grade for Brandon Bean in this draft as of now.
Yeah, do you have a grade for him, or you just want mine?
I I'd say um like a B plus, I think.
Nice. I'm in similar. I think A or A minus. I think he definitely um, could have got a higher end receiver prospect in here, but overall, I think he nailed everything that the Bills really needed uh, for this team. They didn't have many holes, and I was honestly surprised that they took 9 guys as it was. So, um, yeah, I think they put players in a lot of positions where they have paths to make the roster, and we'll see how that pans out for the Bills. Hopefully, like I said at the beginning, I hope that at least one of these guys is good. They drafted 3 cornerbacks, so hopefully one of them is going to be able to play next to Christian Benford there. And I think all 3 have high upside there. Um, and there's some return ability. They drafted some return ability as well. So, guys like Codrington that are on the team now, basically just for returning kicks and punts, there may be an option to move on from him and be able to utilize some other guys that can hopefully actually play defense, because Codrington isn't uh, isn't the best defender yet or hasn't shown, but he is young. He was an undrafted rookie as well, so we'll see what he can do as far as on the defensive side of the ball. But certainly an exciting returner.
What made the Bills release Sam Martin?
Sam Martin's not hasn't been the most consistent punter. Wasn't my favorite punter, and gutsy guy. He played through some injuries and things at times when he probably shouldn't have. But overall, just you need something. You need a little bit more, and he was more expensive than what they needed to pay for a punter who they needed more from.
Are you excited about this being the last year for Highmark Stadium, Rich Stadium? Or is it
Let's stay with the punter thing real quick, just because I saw you asked to follow up. Jake Camarda and Brad Robbins are here um, in Buffalo to compete for that job, and we'll see, how they do and if anybody is brought back from as far as veteran um, goes. So um, I am excited. Twofold here. When you talk about the stadium, I'm excited because I just went and got my new tickets for the new stadium a couple weeks ago, and the new stadium looks phenomenal. I'm excited to see. I got to make it down and check out the progress again because it's a site. The new stadium is very exciting, but uh, yeah, the last year for Highmark Stadium is it's going to be a memorable one. The Bills announced they're going to have some throwback jerseys or an alternate jersey. We'll see. So we'll see if they are able to bring back the red helmet that everyone is clamoring for.
Yeah, that's the one I didn't really like was the red helmets.
Yeah, I mean, just so people know, the prices aren't bad. My tickets um, are only about $180 more in 2026 for the new stadium than they will be this year for the old stadium in 2025. So the per ticket thing is not uh, the per seat per game ticket is not super expensive, but the thing that is getting people are the seat licenses. So in the section I got in, my seat license was $2,000 a seat. That's not crazy in my opinion. I think for 30 years of the life of the stadium, for where I'm at, and I am in the 400 level, which the new 300s will be the 400 level now. But there's also 12,000 less seats in the stadium, so things had to be moved around a bit. And I don't believe that anybody, if they have tickets now, is going to be priced out. They have a lot of options for people to be able to afford the seat licenses, and the per game or the per season ticket price of the seats themselves are not are not much more. Every year you go through, you get a little bit of an increase in price, and I think this is similar. It's in line with increasing from one year to the next. Now there is one less game next year than there was this year, so that's offset a little bit. So it is a little bit more per game, but I don't believe that this is crazily overpriced that nobody in Buffalo could afford. I think that's a myth. Probably not. I don't do that. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what'll be available. It depends on what's available to me. I don't know what the
Yeah.
memorabilia will be that would be available. But if I have a chance to like take my seat from there, well, it's a bench. So if I get to take my section of the bench there, then sure, I'll try to get that.
Um Thoughts on playing on a grass field?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be state of the art stuff. Heaters in there and things like the playing conditions are going to be so much different from what it is now. You see right now they bring this big uh, truck with a brush on front of it that spins around, and they blow those black pellets all over the place, and just looks really bad when it snows. So um, the cover on this stadium is going to be really cool as well for the fan experience. I think it's going to be a lot warmer without so much wind chill and so much precipitation. Fans aren't going to have to dig out their seats anymore or as much from the snow. And I think it's just going to be a totally different experience. I'm really excited to see these guys, and fans will be more on top of on the top of the field. So I think it might even get louder if that's possible.
Do you think it's going to be like some of it is going to be heated seats as well,
In the
even though
club
it's
section
not?
for sure. I'm sure there's probably, but I don't know that for sure. There's heaters in the right now. There's heaters at the top end of the club level. So I don't know all the amenities of those levels. Mine's gonna be a hard plastic seat, but it's an upgrade to go to an actual seat. Right now, there's metal benches, so it's completely new seating and arrangement. I'm excited for that.
I mean, this question, I don't think they should have made it a dome. It wouldn't make a difference if it was a dome or like half a dome for the noise effect of it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they needed to. I mean, I would have loved it, being someone who goes to every game, to be completely covered by elements and not have any, temperature control and all that stuff. Sure, but you know, I don't think that they needed to do that. There's lots of reasons why they didn't. So I like the home field advantage, playing in the elements as well.
Are they using the old stadium for parking?
Yeah, that'll all be demolished, and the parking around the stadium is going to be really nice. I'm excited for that. Yeah, they have a whole plan, and it's going to take time. The first season that they play at the new stadium, the old stadium's still going to be up, so it's going to be some time before everything's done to where the full parking experience, it might be 2027 or 2028 season before you really see the full tailgate vision and parking spot vision that they have.
How do you feel about the season for the Bills this year with some of the new players?
I'm excited to see the impact. I think Maxwell Harrison's going to get Brandon Means said as much in his press conference. Maxwell Harrison's going to get every opportunity to be the CB2, the second corner, starting across from Christian Benford. And if he can't handle it, I think they're going to, rely on a veteran, Trey White, or who's the other guy? Just slipped my mind here. Dane Jackson, excuse me. So, I don't know. You'll see what Jamarcus Ingram can also bring to the table. So they have guys here, but I think Hairston's going to compete for that second cornerback spot, and we'll see how it goes. But I think the top 4 picks, Maxwell Hairston, TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, and Deion Walker, all have a path to making an impact on the season and playing. The 3 defensive linemen I mentioned, Jackson, Sanders, and Walker, are going to be a part of the Bills' rotation, which they always run with their defensive line, and I think that really allows a young guy to find his legs in the NFL, because they're not going to have to play 70 to 80% of snaps. They're just going to be able to play 110% on the snaps that they get inside the rotation, and then they're going to be able to have a little bit opportunity for success.
Where could my viewers find your content?
Yeah, my handle is at Lance Nelson BIB on Instagram and X. But you can also search for Built in Buffalo and follow the brand content as well. A lot of good Bills content coming from Built in Buffalo. So at Built in Buffalo _ on most social media platforms, and then just search Built in Buffalo on Facebook.
And what days is the Triple Coverage podcast?
Yep, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. On Built in Buffalo's podcast network is the Triple Coverage Podcast with myself, Benjamin Shoup, and Scott Casson. So we have a lot of fun there. So if you can, check us out and would appreciate it.
Yeah, and you can find me on X and Instagram at the handle on the bottom. And it was fun to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Robbie. Really appreciate it. We'll always keep in touch here, and I appreciate you continuing to have me on, and we'll look forward to the next time.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe during the season we can get together and talk about the season.
Absolutely, we will. And we'll get you down to the stadium, hopefully, for a tailgate as well. Over at the Big Tree Inn. Be a good time.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and go Bills.
Go Bills.